Hey guys, so today I'm going to talk about my experience with multiple sclerosis and how I gained hope with the Wahls Protocol. But first, before I start anything, I just want to say if you do have an autoimmune disease, if you do have a chronic illness, just know that your story is meant to inspire one, that every day you fight, you get up. You're a freaking warrior, let me tell you. Because I know some days you don't want to get up, but you get up, right? And you keep going. And I know some days it feels like you lose the battle, but the fact that you're still here and you're still fighting, I think that's a winner. I think that's a warrior. And two, just know that you're not alone. And for me, not seeing anyone in my family, anyone in my friends, no one could understand. And I didn't think anyone could understand until I started being vulnerable with my disease, because I didn't want anyone to even know. But as soon as I started letting it out that yes, I have this is how I overcome every day. One is it won't only inspire others, but two, it will attract more people that understand you and that you can help each other with. Like, isn't that beautiful? Like, that's amazing. And that is a big reason why I'm sharing my story today, because your story isn't meant to be bottled up. It's meant to show others what you're going through, and they can relate too. And it's very possible. So, just to get my story started, this starts all back when I was 15 years old. So that's about 7 years now. I'm 22 now. So let's flash back 7 years. And that is when I got diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. But I'm sure, like any of you that's ever been diagnosed with anything, you know it's not just one quick doctor's visit and voila, you have an answer. No, I would say this started when I was about 14 years old. And it was doctor's visit after doctor's visit after doctor's visit. And all the doctors would tell me was the reason why I was tired all the time was because I'm growing. That didn't happen, let me tell you. And two, the reason why my joints hurt all the time, the reason why my body hurt all the time was because I was a competitive athlete and all I needed was a little physical therapy and to go through it to a chiropractor. That didn't work either. Of course. So let's flash forward a year after that. I'm about 15 now. And I go to pick up my fork to eat my pancakes after a very long practice. As soon as I pick up my fork, I have to drop it right away and my leg starts shaking. I just felt a humongous jolt go through my body, and I was so scared that actual tears were in my eyes. And my family just stops and looks at me because one, I never show that I'm crying or I'm sad or anything because I didn't want to show weakness back then. Okay, so one, they stop and stare at me, and we automatically knew that this was something bigger. I'm gonna flash forward again, and a couple weeks later, we finally end up in a neurologist's office. And what the neurologist says, I think was, at the time, was the best news I could possibly get. Because one, doctors made me feel like I was going crazy, feeling how I felt all the time and saying there was nothing wrong. And two, I finally had an answer. I finally had an answer that I wasn't going crazy and that the symptoms I was feeling was real. So the next words out of his mouth were, I have multiple sclerosis. I had no idea what that was. Again, I was just excited for an answer. And then that's when everything changed, were the next words out of his mouth, because he was explaining to me what exactly this disease was. Because for me, I thought, I was like, okay, like I'll live with a little pain, a little tiredness, probably for the rest of my life. That's as bad as it'll get, right? Like, I'll be fine. But the next words out of his mouth were, this is a disease where your immune system is attacking your brain and spinal cord. And what that means is that your brain doesn't communicate right with your body. And eventually you will be wheelchair bound, with the rate I was going at that time. And you have no idea how much fear came over my body. I was 15 years old and you were telling me that all the dreams I had, all the life I had planned out for myself, I wasn't going to get any of that. I couldn't even wrap my mind around it. And then the next words were even worse for me. He said the only way to stop the progression of this disease, to stop the progression of you being wheelchair bound eventually, was either a needle in the side of your stomach for the rest of your life or pills that you'll have to take the rest of your life. And for me, that wasn't even an option in my head. I knew somehow, some way, that wasn't going to be my answer. I was like, there's no way. There's no way. I mean, I wasn't going to be wheelchair bound, but there's no way that that was my answer. And I don't know if it was pride that kicked over me. I don't know if I felt something deeper inside of me to keep looking somewhere else, to just know. I felt it deep in my soul that that wasn't my answer and that I should still keep looking. But the fact that I had that, the next words that he said is, you can think about it. You can choose what option you want to go with and what route you want to go with, but we'll reschedule another appointment for that. And as soon as I looked at my mom, and I was crying again. I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. And she turned straight to the internet. She's literally an angel. She's great. But she turned to the internet and she did extensive research too, because at that time I was just so tired. At the time, my body was exhausted all the time. My brain was always fogged up, always. I felt like knives were constantly being thrown at my back. I felt like I couldn't see clearly, but I didn't know any better. I felt like I couldn't breathe fully. And I know those are pretty minor symptoms with how bad this disease could get, but a 15-year-old having this be a norm and not realizing that that wasn't normal to feel all the time, that's huge. So anyways, my mom turns to the internet and she finds a doctor named Terry Wahls. And Terry Wahls was a Western medicine doctor, and she fully believed in pills and needles and antibiotics. She believed in all that stuff, which I'm not saying I don't believe in it. I believe that Western medicine can have a huge benefit in emergency situations, but to stop a progression of a disease like this, I don't feel like it's the best option all the time. So what she did is she was eventually wheelchair bound. When she was going to the best doctors, taking the best medicine, doing everything that she possibly needed to do to stop her progression, she still ended up in a wheelchair and she couldn't do much. So she had to take it all in her own hands, and she started experimenting with foods, with vitamins, with supplements. She started doing her research to see what would help her. And you know what? Within the matter of months, she was up and walking around. And now it's been years. And you know what? She's not in a wheelchair at all. She's more than just walking. She's swimming, she's running, she's biking. Like, what the heck? A disease that supposedly has no cure, supposedly has no way of coming out of that wheelchair once you're wheelchair bound, and you completely reversing that? That's amazing. Like, how could you not want to try that once you hear of a story like that? So that's what I did. I started implementing 9 cups of vegetables every day. I implemented 6 to 12 ounces of meat every day. I started taking vitamins and supplements every single day. I completely took out grains. I completely took out dairy, and I limited a lot of sugar. And let me tell you, that was not easy. That was not easy at all, especially for a 15-year-old girl whose comfort food was ice cream, was pancakes and cupcakes, any chocolate, and I couldn't have that at all. That was hard. It was tough, let me tell you. But I did it, and the trade-off has been so worth it, because now I'm able to live a normal life. Now I'm able to do what an average person can do. And even though I have all these limitations to my diet, it's so much better to be able to be alive and healthy. It's truly a blessing. But I don't want you to think that this is just a success story. I don't want you to think that it's all been uphill since I've turned 15. No, No. But you do have to remember that I was 15 when I was diagnosed, and then I had to go off to college. And I was becoming used to this diet, but once you enter college and you see all your friends eating whatever they want and they're fine, you're around all these different things, you think, or I thought, I could cheat a little. I felt good for 3 years then. I was starting to think that I was healed. I really was. I was like, I haven't really felt symptoms in years. I could start eating a little sugar there. If this has a trace of dairy there, it's fine. If this has a bit of grains there, like, it's fine. I don't think I've ever been so wrong. So that worked for me for a little while. I would say it worked for about 3 years. 19, 20, 21. Yeah, I would say it worked about 3 years. But I had to remember that you're never healed from this disease. Ever. You have a way to manage your symptoms. You have a way to reverse your symptoms. But you're not ever healed. So what I didn't ever take into consideration, that this Wahls Protocol isn't just your diet, but it's your lifestyle too. So I used to be a super carefree person. I would say I'm a pretty carefree person still. But when a huge life stressor came into my life, like it always does, like I've learned, when you go through life gets hard every once in a while. But what I've learned is that when that huge life stressor came into my life, all of those little traces of foods, all of those little traces of sugar, all of those little cheats I thought I was having was really just cheating myself. Because when I had that huge life stressor, it hit me like a pound of bricks. All of those traces came and hit me more than that pound of bricks, hit me like a truck of bricks. And I not only felt how I was feeling when I was 15 years old, but I was feeling even more. All of a sudden, I kind of went blind in my left eye. I couldn't even walk around the block without my legs feeling like they were gonna give out. What else did I go through? I was exhausted all the time. I had a ton of brain fog. I lost the use of my hands. My whole hands went numb for months. And if you know me, like, the way I de-stress is to journal and is to do yoga. And that wasn't even an option anymore because I couldn't do it. And I used my hands at work a lot, and I couldn't use my hands for work anymore. Like, it just came hitting me all at once, not just the life stressor, but the life stressor manifested into my body. And what got me so disappointed in myself is that I had the answers. I knew exactly what I needed to do, and I didn't do it. But you know what? After that truck of bricks hit me, I knew I had the answer to reverse it again. And that's what I did, but I was even stricter. Not only was I having the 9 cups of vegetables every day, not only was I having the 6 to 12 ounces of meat and cutting out the grains, dairy, and sugar, but I was adding fermented foods. I was adding kombucha. I was adding apple cider vinegar. I was adding sauerkraut and liver. I absolutely love liver now because, shoot, it's brought my vitality back. It's brought my happiness back. Like, that's, money can't put anything on that, especially when you get those answers and those type of results that everyone can get. And that's what I want to leave my story at, is that no matter how far that you've fallen, just know that you can always come back. And it's hard. It's really hard. I'm not saying this is easy. It's not. One day I felt like being this motivated. No, it took a lot of discipline and a lot of telling myself that I will feel better if I do this. And I know it's not fair. I also do know that because I've lived it. And I get to see my friends eat whatever they want and they're perfectly fine. But you know what? One, life isn't fair. But you learn how to live with it, and you learn that because you have this disease and because you have these answers, you're meant to inspire so many more people. And I'm glad I can share this with all of you guys. And I hope this gives you a little bit more hope. Thanks, guys. Let me know how you're feeling about this story. Because, one, I know it sounds outrageous. And two, I know if you try it and you do have an autoimmune disease, I know deep in my heart you're gonna feel so much different. Okay. Bye, guys.